We got YouTube now. YouTube, you are fortunate enough tonight to get a quick sneak peek of week 3 of the Credit Crushers, because a lot of people had questions when I went live earlier today talking about one of the many things we've spoken about previously in this mentorship. And so you wanted to know when the next session starts. When does the next session start? It's usually at the beginning of the month. We got 2 weeks. So did I say the 3rd or the following week? Next session starts next month. And so tonight you guys are just going to hear a snippet, all right? So now for everybody else, like I said, I apologize that the recording went out late, but I had to blur out my information. I'm still happy that I showed y'all what I showed y'all, because I'm actually doing the stuff that we're talking about. I want to know, did y'all do y'all homework? Did anybody do their homework?
Partial.
Partial? Okay, I'll take partial. Which part did you do right quick? What you say, Regina?
I got my Attorney General.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Anthony Brown. My governor is Mr. Brandon Scott. I did pull up some of the, what were they? Oh, I'm District 4.
Okay, good.
And one of the law offices that I looked into was the office of Mark Elliott Korn and Robert Sons.
Okay.
So I haven't gone to their websites yet, but I will be doing that. I did look up some cases, but I saved them. I didn't print them out.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. I want you all to get and I just have to tell y'all this before we start the official. This is just the informal talking. Please, with case law, when you look up the cases, especially the ones for your circuit, for your district, read through that language and start getting acclimated to that language, because what I'm seeing is that a lot of people, not in this mentorship, but just in other spaces that I am in, they write their letters, they write their claims, they write their briefs, they write up a lot of stuff like how they talk. And y'all, that's going to be a problem. Okay? Even when they call the bureaus, a lot of times people are not getting the results that I get, because they're like, oh, I know it's somewhere. We're going to touch on this, but you don't want to be doing a lot of and you know what I mean, and stuff. Nah.
Exactly.
And a lot of that is designed by social media. We have short attention spans. We have short form content, and it's dumbing us all down and teaching us not to articulate and communicate effectively. So just wanted to put that little bug in y'all's ear. Did anybody do the part about recording on your computer and your phone?
I learned.
Good. Okay. So
yeah.
Okay, so y'all watched the video and was it helpful?
Yeah, so I didn't watch the video, but I saw it. Janelle, stop. No? Sorry.
No, you fine.
I just did it. So for after our session, I recorded the calls that I did with
the 3 CRAs
to get my stuff removed, and then I saved them in my Google Drive, and I renamed them. So I tried to do it right away.
So right now, if I ask you to pull the recording of you and whoever you spoke to on Equifax, you could do that, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. What were you going to say, Xavier?
And I learned how to record on my phone.
You learned how to record on your phone? Okay, good. So with the speakerphone and another phone, or a phone to computer?
My speakerphone.
Okay, to computer. All right, good. All right. Cool beans. We are right now at 8:17. We got a lot to cover tonight. There was a whole lot last week. If you were on live, you already know. I dropped the recording today after I blurred out my information. So please, this weekend, make sure you don't listen to anything. Don't listen to this so soon before you listen to the recording of last week again, because these two go hand in hand. Last week we talked about legal. This week we're going to talk about disputing, okay? So now I am going to go ahead and do a shell. Let me see here. And we're going to get started shortly. Oh, shoot. You know what? Son, will you please bring me my Chromebook and my mouse? I need to see it on another screen how they see it. Thank you for being so helpful. I appreciate you. All right. That's okay. All righty, y'all. All right, so any last minute questions before we start the recording?
No.
Nope, everybody good? Okay. Make sure everybody stays muted out too, please. All right, until we get to the Q&A. So, got this up. Now we're going to go ahead and start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Okay, everyone, welcome to week 3 of the Credit Crushers Mentorship. Last week we talked about legal, and that was the great foundation that you needed for us to really talk about disputing. Okay, so we got a lot to cover as usual. The agenda tonight, what we're going to cover will be the most common inaccuracies. What are your goals with disputing? Are you just trying to get a deletion, or are you trying to get the deletion and the dollars? Because that does make a difference. We're going to touch on damages, statute of limitations, credit monitoring. This is our longest list, y'all. Our longest agenda list. Cleaning up contact information, disputing online investigation, deletion versus suppression. The biggest myth, Metro 2, inquiries / permissible purpose, medical collections, collections versus charge-offs, bankruptcies, evictions, repos, late payments, cease and desist, and settlement agreements. So I hope everybody ate and has something to drink, because yeah, it's going to be a doozy. All right, so what are really quickly, there's a lot that's going to be wrong with your credit report. With most people's credit report, they make money on our ignorance, and they are counting on us not to have enough time to review our credit reports. For many of you, this was your first time looking at all 3 in a long time, and for some people that have taken the mentorship and previous waves, this was their first time ever pulling their credit reports. Most people have a tendency to hide their head in the sand when they know, my credit is trash anyway. Don't do that though, right? So some of the typical errors that you're going to find on the credit reports are going to be name misspellings, incorrect social security numbers, balance or payment information that's inaccurate, wrong length of credit history, and even like whole accounts that don't belong to you at all. What is your goal when you're disputing this information though? If you want money, you'll sometimes hear people refer to it as remedy. You're going to have to follow the letter of the law regarding procedure, okay? You're going to have to document everything and organize your evidence. Be sure that you're telling a story, you have a flow, and that you're presenting your argument in a way that contains a claim, like, hey, this is how they were negligent, and a private right of action. If you want money, you have to be able to sue on it. Because there are some people out here in these internet streets, and they're citing laws, and they're like, this law says that, and this law says that. Okay, but so what? What does the law say if they don't do that thing? What does the law say that you can go get? Nothing? Well, then what are you even talking about it for? To a certain extent, it's good to have the knowledge, but there are some people out here that are trying to sue on laws that don't have a private right of action. So when you hear people saying things like, oh, it doesn't work. No, you didn't study enough. So you gotta be clear on whether you just want a deletion or you want the deletion with the dollars. Now, somebody would say, well, Kim, if I could get money, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I secure the bag? And y'all know, I hate those phrases because they really mitigate the amount of effort and work that you have to put into this stuff, right? But there are plenty of reasons why you wouldn't secure the bag. And one of those reasons might be because you need to live your life. Right now, if you don't have a car, the goal is to get a dang on car so you can go to work, so you can take your kids to school. It's not to secure the bag. And if there is something on your credit report that is going to make your interest rate crazy for you getting a car, you need to get that off before you get the car. It's tax time, y'all. There's a lot going on. For some people, their goal is to get a car tax time. They're going to use the money for the down payment, and the only thing that's stopping them is their credit score. So a deletion is more valuable to them of a deletion of a negative trade line that could make their interest rate go through the roof is more valuable to them right now because they need that car payment as low as possible, right? So that deletion is more valuable than them trying to set up a storyline for not only the deletion but also the dollars. All right. So when you only want the deletion, you have a little bit more flexibility, and yeah. So you want to keep that in mind. Now, if you want compensation, and by compensation I mean tangible or intangible, meaning money, dollars, or just the deletion alone, then you need to know this formula. The information plus your organization is going to give you the compensation. All right. So it's not good enough just to know the laws or to watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos. Just like I asked Akila before we even started the recording, if I ask you for the recording of when you spoke to Equifax, can you pull it right now? And she said yes. That's key, y'all. Your organization has got to be on point. I do not care who you spoke to if you cannot pull the notes from who was it, what did they say, what day, what was the outcome, how do you follow up? This right here is a screenshot of my, and y'all know I share my Google Drive with y'all all the time. But as y'all can see, this is a screenshot of my communications right now with T-Mobile. Now, to the left over here, I have all types of notes. Each call I write down who I spoke with, and I link the title, the subtitle of that day, the date, and who I spoke to. That's linked to the recording for the call. But if I want a snapshot of how many times I've spoken to T-Mobile, somebody tell me how many times I've spoken to T-Mobile, and this is just on the chat. I do not talk to them on the phone. Their chat feature is really, really wonderful and very convenient. Half the time I am chatting with a T-Mobile person, getting my resolution, while I'm also listening to one of the replays of, something like another mentorship that I'm a student of. So somebody tell me how many times have I spoken to T-Mobile and what's the total amount of hours, and I use spoken loosely, but how much time have I invested in the chat? No, unmute, y'all. Give me some energy. Y'all are putting in the chat.
Oh, we just playing their viola in the background, and
That's okay. I don't want to feel alone. Y'all know I don't like feeling alone.
So it looks like you talked to them 7 chats.
Yep. 7 individual days, right? And it's a total of 17 hours, right? I see you put that in the chat. And so each time I talk to them, do you notice a pattern? Each time I speak to them, they gonna give me a credit. Do y'all see that? Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
Yes. Right. And the reason why they're giving me credits is because what? Because I have notes. I'm referencing notes. It does no good for you to talk to somebody and say, you don't see my notes from before. Y'all, it is not their job. Well, technically it is, but they don't do their job. And by they, I don't mean T-Mobile. I mean all these crooks. It is not their job to keep notes on stuff that helps you. It is their job to make money and get payment out of you. So even if the last person, some of these days, I was told, oh yes, I'm gonna follow up with you. I'll let you know about such and such. And that's why you see a blank right here, because I was supposed to contact them about today about something that is still outstanding. And I'm not letting them off the hook with this. Don't ask me for no money until you give me all my service. So I don't care. The lowest day I had was what? Just a $6 credit. But I was only on there for 30 minutes, y'all. But the other days, the highest day I had was the last time I spoke to them, and my account was credited what, $180, right? So for the year, all these chats, what's my total credits with T-Mobile?
It's $420.75.
There you go, 400. Every time I call them, every time they make me take time out of my schedule to call them, they're going to have to pay me. They're going to have to credit my account some way, somehow. But you can only do this if you have not only just the information, but also the organization. So when I contact them tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm going to pick up exactly where I left off per these notes. They're going to be a little bit further down here. And I'm going to let them know, because I want y'all to be able to do this. If you have a particular issue with Equifax, Experian, whoever, Innovis, keep your notes, but then also do a timeline, because this also comes helpful if you ever need to get a consumer protection lawyer and you have the timeline already drafted out. You can tell them, on this date I spent 2 hours doing this, and so now when you go to court or you go to arbitration and you say something like, I need something outside of my actual damages, and they say, why? Well, I've already spent 17 hours this year just trying to get everything straightened. And on these 2 particular calls, they told me they would follow up and they never did. Do you see how that makes it look better for you, instead of just, I just need the money just because this inconvenient and it stressed me out? Do you see that? Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. So keep your notes, but have a timeline. Okay? And it can be as detailed as you want. On this date, I made a payment. On that date, they said it was late. This date, whatever the case may be. Okay? They closed my account. On this date, I called. Do a timeline. And then you can even hyperlink it to whatever it is you're talking about. If there's a letter they gave you, hyperlink it to that, and so forth, so on. Because again, if you have to do like Jay did, Jay, who was on with us last week, and get a consumer protection lawyer, they're going to ask you for that stuff. So you already want to have it together. It just makes sense. Now, damages. How do you have to prove damages? A lot of people are like, 15 USC, these are federal codes, go to federal court. Well, what a lot of those people leave out is that if you go to federal court, you have to prove damages. So there's a case, you'll often hear people talk about Spokio. But that was the basis for actually a case between TransUnion LLC versus Ramirez. Okay, so I'm gonna drop this in the chat, and I want y'all to read about this, because if you don't, I mean, this case was not good for the consumers. Okay, this information right here, and I want you to look up Spokio. I think that's a part of y'all's homework tonight, and really, really read it. It's crazy. Would you believe that somebody was put on a terrorist list by accident? And basically the court was like, yeah, but how did it hurt you? What? What you mean? It's not good enough that I was put on a terrorist list? No, what's your damages? This is why people need to understand that some of this stuff is not as easy as some of these people on social media make it sound. Okay? There are a few court rulings that don't go the way that you would think they would go. That's why I encourage y'all all the time, get familiar with your district. Some districts, like the 7th Circuit, they make you prove emotional distress way more than my district, which is the 11th Circuit. That's something that you need to know, right? Because if you're going after emotional distress, you need to know, do I need to get an expert witness, have my therapist, or can I just draft up my own timeline with some phone call records? So you need to know that if you go into federal court, and there are instances where you may want to do that, then you have to prove damages. But if you go into state court or you're doing arbitration, you do not. It's more flexible, okay? Now, statute of limitations. This is key. We got Kiana on the line, and y'all saw she dropped in Telegram that somebody actually reached out to her recently about a debt, and the debt is outside of the statute of limitations. They tried it. Now, it's outside of the statute of limitations for what? For her state. So remember, you got statute of limitations for your state for debts. You got statute of limitations for the FCRA. It's a 2-year statute of limitation from the date of discovery of the violation. With FDCPA, it's 1 year from the time of the offense. With TILA, it's 1 year, within 1 year of the alleged violation. Now, you can read this more at length on your own. But let me tell y'all something. Another reason why I say the organization is key is because you want to have all your junk together. If you notice a violation that you want to bring a claim under one of these statutes, you need to know, what's my workflow look like? Okay, I'm going to send out this letter, and here's my demand. Now, where a lot of people mess up is they'll say, oh, Kim, they responded. Now what do I do? What you mean? What do you do? You should already know what to do based on whether they respond how you like or how you don't like. right? So when you send out that first letter, you should have your demands on there and already be thinking through, what if they counterclaim me? What do I come back with? What if they ignore my letter? What do I do? Did you stipulate in your letter what's going to happen if they don't respond? Because if you said that, I'm going to go take it to the next step, litigation, or if you have the option of arbitration, then you need to follow through. There are some people and they say, I'm giving you 30 days. Guess what? The arb is filed on day 31. Are you prepared to do that? Because when you know exactly what you're going to do based on the two possibilities of how they're going to respond to you, then you will not run the risk of running out of the statute of limitations according to each one of these codes. Does that make sense? Drop yes in the chat if it does. Otherwise, what will happen is if you find a violation under TILA, you send out one letter, they respond to you not like how you like, and you're thinking that this was easy, and now you're frozen trying to figure out how to respond to them, trying to research how to send out, what you say in your second letter, and before you know it, the statute of limitations has run out. And remember, some of this stuff, good. All right, so I see yes, thumbs up, cool. And some of this stuff, again, the statute of limitations is not necessarily based on when it happened, but when you were made aware. So once you send out that first letter, you're putting them on notice that you're made aware. So you can't come back later and say, yeah, but no, there is no but. Your first letter is here. Now your second letter was 3 years later. Don't work like that. All right. So that's very important. Know your statute of limitations for whatever law you want to use, also for your state. Because now Kiana is not worried about that situation because she knows they're just trying it because it's tax time and they want to get your tax money. A lot more people right now are getting letters because it's tax time. And that's what debt collectors do. If you had a debt collection company, wouldn't you be sending out letters right now? Knowing that it's a higher probability that somebody's going to panic and pay than any other time of the year? Absolutely. Right? So it's just business. Credit monitoring. Should you get credit monitoring? Usually I would say yes. However, right now with annualcreditreport.com giving away credit reports every 7 days, it's not necessary if you're disciplined. But if you're not disciplined, I still think that credit reporting is a great thing to have, simply because they will send alerts to you automatically. They will act as surveillance and monitor your credit on your behalf. And life be lifing. So a lot of times we don't catch things. I recommended a credit monitoring service to my friend. We did a YouTube video about it. And he talked about how shortly after signing up, something came up where his card notified him, the credit monitoring service, that somebody had opened an account in his name in another state. And so the whole video was him just saying, dang, Kim, I can't believe it. Thank you. This was worth it. So y'all, this really does work. And with certain credit monitorings, they'll even tell you if your information appears on the black market, which is a whole nother thing. Look it up, okay? But you want to download and save your reports to compare and contrast. One caveat though, credit monitoring reports, they can't be used like in litigation or arbitration. They're strictly for you, and they're helpful because, like I said, they will monitor stuff for you, whereas you have to go to annualcreditreport.com. The credit monitoring services often send notifications to you. All right. So again, if you're not so disciplined and you need something that's more on autopilot, that is a great option. However, you cannot litigate with it. You don't bring it to court and use it as evidence, because it's kind of like the game of telephone. You can't say Equifax, smart identity IQ told me that you said this. No, it doesn't work like that, because Equifax can be like, okay, well, that's what they said, we said, but that's not really what we said. So when you get it from annualcreditreport.com, that is the source. Son, you can't be doing that. Sorry about that, y'all. So I want to be clear on that with the credit monitoring. Now, cleaning up contact information, this is where you are really going to start. I talked about this earlier today, and I've talked about it previously. Some of y'all have seen the videos. A lot of people skip this step because they feel like it's inconsequential. It's not. And literally, Akila will tell y'all, in case anybody dropped in, tell them, Akila, you called all 3 CRAs, and what was your experience? Do you want to come on and say right quick? I'm putting you on the spot.
So when I did my one-on-one with Kim, we had noticed that there was a lot of addresses and phone numbers and old jobs on my credit report. So she had me call all three of them and remove the old information. Equifax and what was it? Experian and TransUnion didn't really give me too much trouble about the outdated information, but Equifax, he was trying to say that I had to have all addresses associated with me on there.
Yep, they do try that.
I just kept it simple, and I was like, he said, but I can't remove stuff that you don't recognize or that doesn't belong there. So he was like, what do you want to remove? And I just said the ones I wanted.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to go about it a roundabout way. Thank you for sharing that, Akila. And the thing I like about calling, actually, because you can dispute it online too. When you pull from annualcreditreport.com, you can dispute the demographic information. And mine was done within 24 hours. I called, but then there was one that I forgot about, a former employer, and then I just disputed it online, and it was gone within 24 hours. But the thing I like about y'all calling is I want you to get used to asserting yourself. I want you to get used to speaking up for yourself. I want you to get used to somebody giving you some pushback and you finding a roundabout way of getting what you want anyhow. Because as I've told you before, if you write these letters, especially if you want any remedy, do not think that you're just going to send it into the company and they're going to send you a check. Somebody's going to call you and see if you talk that talk like you walk that walk. And Kiana will tell you that for a fact. And then when they call you, if they catch you off guard and you stutter and you're stammering and you really don't know what you're talking about and they feel like, oh, somebody else must have wrote this letter for her, she really doesn't know what's going on, then, you know, they'll dismiss you. But if you call them and you know how to, again, articulate yourself and say, hey, we can go to the next level because I've done my research and I know that you violated this, as I said, and this is not going to work out well for you, then that's when you find people cutting the check more so. All right? That's when you get what you want. You got to let people know, don't play with you. So, yeah, call, start having conversations, start seeing what the pushback is. Just like Akila said, if they say something like, well, we can't delete those addresses. I have had them tell me that. Well, we can't delete such and such. And I'm like, okay, so just so that I'm clear, I always like to start with that phrase, so that they can't be like, that's not what we said. No. I repeated it back to you and you confirmed. Just so that I'm clear, so-and-so, you're telling me that although you know having erroneous information on my file increases the probability of it being mixed and merged with another person, which could lead to identity theft, and although I'm calling to clear that up right now, you can't do it. Is that what you're saying? And that's usually when I find they'll be like, hold on. I'm like, all right. So I want y'all to get used to, again, going about things in a roundabout way. Does that make sense? And then sometimes you just got to hang up and call back. Because sometimes people are bold enough to be like, yep, I can't delete it. And you're like, oh, really? But I mean, you got it in your back pocket. Don't worry about it, right? So we're going to clear up all multiple names, addresses, phone numbers. These things make you seem less stable, and they, like I said, they can really cause a lot of problems with other information being put on your credit report that doesn't need to be there. Wrong addresses can lead to pre-approved offers in your name in someone else's hands. So don't let them stay on there. Also, wrong addresses are used to verify accounts. So oftentimes if you dispute a debt from long ago and they're like, okay, we're going to verify it with the furniture, and the furniture is like, verify it. The only thing they did is go to their database. It's so stupid because it's like a circular reference. They'll take the address that they put on the credit report and then look in their database and be like, yep, the address that we gave you matches the address that we have. What? The verification process is not some Inspector Gadget, intense private investigator type process. No, it's almost laughable. So, take away that option from them by getting your old stuff off of there. Because the law does say you can be notified on an old address. Hold on one second. Let me see something. Bam. All right. So disputing online, don't dispute online if you want remedy, because there's no paper trail and the dispute is handled totally different. Is it convenient? Yes. And there's a reason for that. They want you to dispute online. Why? Because section 611A, A8, that talks about online disputes. It talks about when you do an online dispute, a lot of people don't know this because they only read the parts of the law that are sexy. But it says the credit reporting company does not have to forward the dispute and other information to the creditor. They do not, when you dispute online, have to send you written results of the dispute investigation. They do not have to show you the method of verification, right? And if you want to proceed with disputing, going to the next level in the event that they do something wrong or, not complete and inaccurate, if you dispute online, then you've lost that right, okay? Often, when you dispute online, it's a soft or a temporary delete, and that means it can be reinstated when the creditor reports the next time, all right? So, again, it goes back to what is your goal? Is it deletion or is it deletion with remedy? And do you want all options available to you as far as, seeing how they investigate it? We're going to look at this example right here. This is Credit Karma. As you guys can see, Credit Karma, we've already talked about that week 1, what they're good for and what they are bad for. So the first question that they ask you on Credit Karma is what? Somebody tell me. Y'all, I know y'all hate it when I ask y'all to unmute. Say so.
You're disputing ownership or accuracy?
Right. And most people be like, it's not mine. Y'all don't do that. That will make it so hard when there's no need to dispute ownership when they are so grossly inaccurate with so many things. There's no reason to lie when the truth is good enough. Okay? And then once you click this, you see these are the only options that Credit Karma gives you. So this does not allow you to tell a story. Now, do they have comments over here? Yes, but before you do that, you got to select a reason. Once you select that reason, they can pigeonhole you into that one and only reason. What if you're disputing based on multiple things with this account? Do you see the deficiency? Type yes or no in the chat. Do you see the deficient, how it puts you at a disadvantage when you dispute online? Yeah, you save a stamp and a trip to the post office, but you lose so much. So again, if this is for demographic information, something inconsequential that you need done, okay, good. Regina said yes. Xavier said yes. Cool. Inconsequential stuff, cool. But when we get to the nitty gritty, not cool at all. All right. So just understand that the pros and cons of everything. Now, 1681I. When you think of the I, think of investigation. This talks about the procedure in the case of a disputed accuracy. I put a case law here that I really want y'all to read. This is important. I'm going to drop it in the chat. I want you to review this because this case talked about investigation in particular. Okay? Again, y'all, we're not just reading laws and making up our own stories about what this means and what we can get. We're actually looking at how it's applied in real life and real world outcomes, okay? So everybody make a note of that and try to read that. I am going to now, let me see here. I think that's enough of a sneak peek. I'm going to let YouTube go and we're going to get down with the get down. Bye YouTube. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peek. Again, this is the week 3 of the Credit Crushers Mentorship. They're looking at slides. You guys were able to just hear me, but I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it helped you out. If you want more, then go to Hello Chameleon. Do all your stuff. All right.